All right, let's talk about what is maybe the best problem you could ever have. What do you do when your app or your website gets so popular it's actually about to break under the pressure? This is all about how to solve a very, very good problem.
I mean, just picture this for a second. You've built something, you poured your heart into it, you launch it, and then boom, it goes viral. Your 1,000 users become a million, seemingly overnight. Now that's the dream, right? But it's also a tech person's nightmare, because if you're not ready, that dream is going to turn into a whole lot of crash reports. So how do you handle that insane sudden growth?
Well, the answer to that nightmare is a bit of engineering magic called system scaling. All it really means is making your system strong enough to handle way more traffic, way more data, you name it, without just falling over. Think of it like this. You're not just building a house for your family, you're building it to withstand the massive party you're about to throw. It's all about growing to meet the demand.
Now, when it's time to scale, you basically come to a fork in the road. There are two main paths you can take. You can either scale up or you can scale out. And these are two totally different ways of thinking about the problem. Honestly, this choice is one of the biggest decisions you'll ever make about your tech.
So let's head down that first path, vertical scaling, or what's known as scaling up. I love the subtitle for this one, the brute force approach, because that's exactly what it is. It's direct, it's powerful, and it's all about making what you already have way, way stronger.
So what does that actually look like? Well, you take the one server that's running your whole show, and you just beef it up. You give it a much faster brain, a better CPU. You give it more memory to think with, more RAM. You give it bigger pockets, more storage. You're not adding more machines. You're just turning your one machine into an absolute beast, a super server.
Okay, but what's the catch? Because there's always a catch. Well, the best part about scaling up is that it's simple. You don't have to change your code or redesign your whole system. But, and this is a huge but, you will eventually hit a wall, a physical one. There's a limit to how powerful a single computer can be. And as you get closer to that limit, the price just goes through the roof. And maybe worst of all, you've put all your eggs in one basket. If that one super expensive server fails, your entire app is gone. Poof.
And this is the perfect way to think about it. You've got a car, you want to go faster, so what do? You drop a massive new engine in it. It's the same car, it just has a ton more horsepower. It works, for sure, but it's still just one car, and if that car breaks down, you're walking.
So if that's the brute force method, what's the alternative? Let's back up and check out the other path. This is horizontal scaling, or scaling out. And if the first path was about brute force, this one is all about teamwork. It's less about individual power and way more about the power of the group.
So instead of trying to build one superhero server, you hire a whole team of perfectly good normal servers. You just keep adding more machines to your system, and then you put a load balancer out front. Think of it like a traffic cop that directs all the incoming users to the different servers. That way, no single server gets overwhelmed. Everybody shares the work.
And you'll notice the pros and cons here are basically the mirror opposite of what we just talked about. The huge win, there's no single point of failure. If one of your servers goes down, who cares? The others just pick up the slack and your users don't notice a thing. Plus, you can grow almost forever, just keep adding more servers to the team. The downside? Oh, it's way more complex to set up and manage. And your application has to be built from the ground up to be okay with being spread out across all these different machines. And the analogy here is just perfect. Instead of building one ridiculously expensive supercar, you're building a massive fleet of reliable Toyotas. If one car gets a flat tire, no big deal. The rest of the fleet keeps making deliveries. You can handle way more customers, and you're so much more resilient when things go wrong.
Okay, so that's the theory. Bigger versus more. Brute force versus teamwork. But how does this all play out in the real world? When do you actually pick one over the other?
This slide just nails the explanation. Think about a small startup just getting his feet wet. They're almost always going to scale vertically. Why? Because it's easy and it's fast. They just pay their cloud provider a bit more money for a bigger server and they can get back to what matters, building their product. But then you look at a giant like Netflix. They can't just buy one super-duper server. It doesn't exist. To stream movies to millions of people all at once, all over the planet, they have no choice. They have to scale horizontally, putting thousands and thousands of servers and data centers around the world.
So let's just boil it all down right here. If your number one priority is keeping things simple, you're going to lean towards vertical scaling. But if you know you need to handle massive growth and you absolutely cannot afford to go down, then horizontal scaling is the only way to go. And look at that cost line.
Yeah, a single maxed-out server is incredibly expensive, but adding lots of cheaper standard servers is often much more cost-effective when you're playing the long game.
So, that leads us right back to the big question, doesn't it? After all that, which path do you choose? The powerful single machine or the resilient team?
And the answer, like with so many things in tech, isn't really one or the other. The smartest companies don't choose. They use both. They use a hybrid approach. For example, they might scale up their main database server, making it as powerful as humanly possible, while at the same time scaling out their web servers into a huge, resilient fleet. It's about using the right tool for the right job.
At the end of the day, it all comes down to this simple question: stronger or more? And believe me, this isn't just some minor technical detail. It is one of the most fundamental choices a company can make. It's the decision that determines if you can handle the spotlight of success, and it's what separates a flash in the pan from a true digital empire.